Alrighty. Howdy neighbors and welcome to Deluge Threnody of Crashed Waves. This is supposed to be like a dating sim style game, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm hella hyped for it. Actually, I think I want to turn up stuff. It's really good. Alright. Let's go. I can't fucking... I'm not going to read any of that. Hello? She appears oblivious to the rolling waves. Hold on. Why is it just going? Auto forward? No. The insistent thunder. The lashing rain as it soaked her winding obsidian hair. And she stared at me with a frantic gaze in her eyes. Okay, this is loud. Turn it down. There was. Suddenly, a lurch of a breaking bus shook me from my dream. In a state of panic, I exited the vehicle. Although it wasn't until it disappeared in the distance that I noticed I'd gotten off one stop too soon. As the memories of my dream faded from my conscious mind, I immediately became preoccupied with worries more mundane in nature. For I had wasted another weekend fruitlessly inquiring local businesses for part-time employment. You should have tried during harvest, they'd reply, regretfully, if they didn't just laugh in my face. I was beginning to run out of options. Due to setbacks at my father's work, the same that had led him to slash my weekly allowance, we were forced to relocate to Abbotsford, an architectural hub with low costs of living. To me, it felt like the apocalypse. I lost my home, my friends, my indulgent city life, and now I couldn't even find a side job. But in retrospect, I'll admit these were peaceful days. Where money was the greatest problem of my carefree mind. Oh god, it's already time for school! We wasted so much time! It was before I realized I had a stalker. Is this Crimson Gray? Oh me, oh my, I'm excited again! Oh, hi. White background. We're on the greatest light of the sea. Have you seen the eyes of Leviathan? These homes have witnessed the dawn of man. The centuries look upon us now. A boundless mass of human being, flowing in a stream without banks. Deluge. Hell yeah! I'm so excited. Like Loki, I am not even Loki, high key. I'm so excited. I'm ready to go! Griefs of breath bore their fruit, disturbing coils through endless depths. Decades of fright and sorrow will... Okay. I saw you loitering around the stores yesterday. This is Ina. You'd better admit it. Ina, I'm gonna need you to take several steps back. Her name was Ina, a strange, determined girl. Although she was in the same class as I wouldn't be able to say who her friends were. Or Abe. I have no idea what you're talking about. They say a man is only as good as his labor. I've got just the thing for you. Is that a punch at the gut? Huh? Please follow me up to my office. I guess Student Council President. You'll believe that that's the most important? Part 1. Pastoral. I followed her into a small, cluttered room that was situated next to the teacher's lounge. It's so unbearably hot in here. Let me take off that horrible uniform. What? Gracelessly, she removed her vest and jersey, crumpled them into a ball which she dropped to the corner of the room. I don't understand why they're making us wear viscose. It's practically tropical outside. She turned to me. You're anxious to get started, right? Let me explain what your duties will entail. I need someone to deliver a newspaper. Don't worry. I can see a panic forming in your eyes. Brains, however, are entirely optional for this job. She cut me off. There's one thing this village is famous for. Its stellar quality of newspaper. The Sunday Abbott. Or at least it is since I took over as editor-in-chief. The Abbott doesn't play games, you know? 4th place in national ranking in school papers. An honorable mention by the Evening Mirror. I didn't know we had a school paper. A school paper? We're much more than that. Crime, corruption, unsolved mysteries. Did you know we were the first to break the news on the Stanford House affair? And I have so much more up my sleeve. Concern wells up in my eyes. So what do you say? Wait, how many? Oh, we have so many save spots. Delectable. You take the job. Eli, take the job. There's something more respectable in mind. Better than nothing, I'll take it. Honestly, it's better than nothing. Let's go. Great, let me show you my mock-up for this week's issue. So we're reporting on an interesting case. It's linked to the murder that happened about a year before you arrived here. Back then, we brought the news of a seasonal worker who fell victim to a violent attack on one of the local farms. It was late at night and he was on his way to his sleeping quarters after his shift ended, when suddenly he was struck from behind by an anonymous assailant. Ina, in her apparent excitement, had begun tapping her right hand against her skirt. His coworkers found him the next morning, more dead than alive. By the time the ambulance arrived, he had already succumbed to the injuries. Regretfully, he wasn't able to give a testimony before he died. Yeah, that's the bad part here, everybody. Before you before you die, make sure you give a testimony. Poor guy. 4 years passed that fateful night, so I decided to do due diligence. Nah, they did that to me on purpose. I went down to the police station to ask how the investigation into the attack was coming along. However, the receptionist told me the case has been closed. Case closed? I asked her. Then who was the culprit? But she said the perpetrator had never been found. So when I asked if I could see the case file, she just mumbled something and directed me toward the exit. Ina sighed. I know exactly what's going on around here. They never did a proper investigation. You know, the owner of the farm where it all happened. He has ties to the town mayor. This place is ruled by small... I don't know that word! C-A-U-C-U-S. Oh, crap. Oh, I can scroll. Yes. Causes of cronies. that could do as they like as long as their powers go unchecked. That's why we need a quality newspaper, to shine a light in the darkness. I could detect a tremble in her voice. She's like, "It's my dad!" We really need a paper, boy. Do it for your community, Abe. Those poor wretches need you. You know me, honest Abe. By the time I had already begun to notice the first signs of Ina's compelling presence, although I ascribed it to youthful eccentricity at the time, not paying it any further attention. The afternoon was drawing to an end. Wordlessly, we gathered our belongings and headed toward the stairs. Let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns. Hooah! We have just under 2,000 subscribers. I'll pay you 2 cents per paper delivered. That should add up to a decent salary for a morning's work. Now remember, the printer will deliver tomorrow at 5 in the morning, and I want to see you here no later than 5:15 a.m. I'm not much of a morning person. See you then. I'm gonna skip. That night I lay in turmoil, pondering whether I should even indulge Ina's ridiculous offer. While a neurotic continuous tapping played through my head like a stenotype. Morning came all too soon. So you're finally there. The delivery guy left ages ago. I could have used some help with the boxes. I didn't appear to be the least bit thrilled to see me. Here's a list of all the addresses, sorted by proximity to the school. Please try not to get lost. I'm off now. I've got a lot of reading to catch up on. You can call me when you're done. She handed me a small business card with her number on it. Chief editor of the Sunday Abbott was printed below her name in tasteful lettering. I have a question. As she appeared anxious to leave, she turned around at the last minute. What? So why is it called the Sunday Abbott? What do you mean? That doesn't make sense, does it? It's delivered on a Saturday. It's always been. We deliver on Saturdays and people read on Sundays. Some of our subscribers are very old-fashioned, you know. They wouldn't want us working during Sabbath. Anyway, good luck on your first day on the job. I mean, a rat's a rat. I resigned myself to the arduous labor, even though it was October already. An unnaturally sticky heat permeated the air that made my work all the more unbearable. How quickly my situation had taken a turn for the worst. No more than 2 months ago, I had been enjoying a life among the nation's elite, headed for a bright role on the world stage. I would be pained to see myself now, spreading gutter journalism for a slave's wage. Oh my, I would fucking die. Then I know her. The snapping shadow lunged toward me. I need this to stop. I need it to stop immediately. The street erupted into a violent mayhem as I fought to keep the dog's razor-sharp fangs away from my jugular. Using my messenger bag to shield myself from its all-devouring clutches. I was in a state of panic. Me too, bitch! Frantically trying to block its strikes as I sought a path to safety. Without further hesitation, I leapt over a garden wall, away from what I figured was a hound's territory. Oh, I hate that. SigurD. I was run at least 4 blocks before collapsing onto a playground bench. It took some time to come to my senses, all while cursing Ina for not disclosing the dangers of the job. If I encounter one more dog today, I will definitely... SigurD! No. sound of my heavy breathing, I can discern a fragile voice calling out. Sigurd! Please stop hiding. Sigurd! Hello. A girl appeared. Her eyes as bright as the summer sky. Her freckles so cute. This is Mai. Or May. Hey there, are you delivering the mail? She seemed distracted by my sudden presence. No signs of her prior distress remained. Calling it mail is a bit of an overstatement. It's just a weekly paper. I'd love to work as a postman one day. An honor. The excitement. To see the delight in people's eyes when they receive life-altering news. Let out a self-deprecated chuckle. I know someone you'd might like to meet. Sigurd! She was at it again, at the top of her lungs. Are you looking for someone? He's my little brother, Sigurd. He was playing hide and seek. He made me count to 100 this time. When I turned around, he had disappeared without a trace. Is that the object of the game? That was almost half an hour ago. Surely he doesn't stray so far. I really hope you find him. I have to get going. Don't pay me by the hour. Will you please look out for Sigurd? He's wearing a light red fleece. You know, I told him it's far too warm for his winter clothes, but he never listens. Will you let me know if you see him? Sure, I'll keep my eyes open. You're the best. Please send him over here if you find him. Every mansions has a garden. Every garden had a gate. And every cursed garden gate added 3 more seconds to my seemingly endless route. I really didn't mind the apartment complexes, which had their letterbox stacked conveniently together. But these gardens were ruining my average. Well, I gradually began to come to the conclusion that Ina had played for a fool. Suddenly... I'm going to die. The infernal beast returned. Without abandon, it began furiously snapping my leg. There you are. Virus. The man is doing an important job. Of course, your name's Karen. Abruptly, she wrangled the dog away from my quivering limbs. I'm sorry. Virus is usually very kind, but it takes him a while to get used to strangers. Your dog has been terrorizing me all morning, madam. Oh, Virus isn't my dog. He lives here. The community has adopted him. You must be new in town. I'm Karen. I work at the city council. Of course you do. Welcome to the beautiful municipality of Abbotsford. I'm so glad you're willing to do this job. I heard Ina had some unfortunate resignations as of late. But a small town like this really needs free press. Ina mentioned something along those lines. I handed her a paper, and as I was about to proceed on my route, her eyes fell on the headline. Wait a minute. This seems interesting. As she skimmed over the front page, a grave expression came over her face. This is very interesting indeed, what you've dug up here. She would be careful, though. This is a very small community. She uttered the warning with concern in her voice. I'm just the paper boy. I know, I apologize. This really is very interesting. Time to not work there anymore, god damn. With those words, she proceeded to make her way toward the council building. I suddenly recalled Mai's words. Wait, have you seen a little boy somewhere around here? She turned around, a meaningful expression appearing on her face. I figured you ran into Mai. Don't worry too much. Little Sigurd always shows up in the end. Cryptic as fuck, thank you. Though the fortunate may be entitled to set it off, my fate is governed by a crueler power. If you want to experience hell on earth, I implore you to take a paper round. My hands lacerated, my legs buckled. Sigurd! Sigurd, where are you, Sigurd? Please come out! Mom will be angry. Voice was reduced to a feeble wail. I heard in the direction of the sound. Sigurd still hasn't come back. He's never been away this long. She was teary-eyed, shivering like a newborn calf. Please, Sigurd, please. Sigurd. As she pleaded, her voice grew fainter, as though the last of her strength was slipping away. Wow. This is something. But suddenly her eyes, which had been vibrant blue a heartbeat ago, turned ashen white. A silent murmur escaped her lips. Sigurd, please, Sigurd, no. He's only 7. Please don't take him. Having lost all prior vitality, Mary had become wholly possessed by paralyzing entrancement. Staring into her pale eyes, I had determined her life essence was very frail at the time. Faint light in the distance, close to dying out. A growing concern took hold of me. Are you alright? I want to call someone. My words passed right through her. No. Oh, please, I promise you'll be good. Please let him stay with me. Sigurd. Her knees buckled. Had I not been fast enough to catch her, she would have plummeted to the ground. I stood there, trying my best to keep her upright. I felt her strength, something, gradually return. As suddenly as it appeared, the paralysis dissipated from her body. She remained silent for a very long time. I'm sorry. Her voice was calm, almost devoid of emotion. I'm sorry. I forgot Sigurd isn't here anymore. Oh. I apologize for causing you trouble. And without any further clarification, she disappeared into the night. Cool. I thought that was my phone. Oh my god. I picked up the phone. Where are you? What happened? I flinched from the outrage in her voice. Nothing happened. I'm back home from a long day's work. But these boxes. There's still 3 boxes here, which means we have disappointed subscribers. Ina, your job's killing me. I'll be contacting the Civil Labor Board. You better finish this first thing tomorrow. I swear if we even have one cancelled subscription over this, I'll be docking your pay till Christmas. Sure, Ina. The cataclysm of abuse has ended. She remained quiet for a while, before resuming in a more subdued voice. Please be here early tomorrow morning. We need to deliver the remaining papers before the fundees get up for church. Sure, Ina. Call me at 11:05. Get out of here. When Monday finally came, it felt like a welcome respite. I sat in class, dozing a little, plagued at times by flashbacks of rabid dogs. Me too. Those that don't know, I am very much afraid of dogs. And after classes ended... it was after classes ended that a dark-haired girl approached me out of nowhere. Rika, I understand how summer is drawing late, and that we're all young and in our best spirits. I stared at her uncomprehendedly. I'd just like you to know that Mai is strictly off limits. I mean, I wasn't really gonna go for her, but thanks. Alarm bells went off in my mind. Please tell me what's going on. I have no idea what you're talking about. Think you can lie yourself out of this one? Just understand that this small community, rumors travel fast in a place like this. If only she realized that romance was the furthest thing from my mind at the time. She sighed. You have to have noticed that Mai isn't exactly like other girls. I nodded. She has a learning disability. School board is currently struggling to place her in suitable education. For the time being, she is taught by a small group of church volunteers. When she realized that I was sympathetic to the situation, her overall stance softened. Together, we made our way to the main exit. It's good to see a new face in school. Oh, I see. So Rika's like friend of Mai. And she's like, don't even fucking be a dick. So how are you enjoying the Isle of Abbot? My name is Rika, by the way. Rika Kuiper? I apologize for not introducing myself sooner. Nice to meet you. I'm Abe. Abe Jansen. Oh, I heard your father would be coming. It's good to know he finally arrived. He should know my dad. He's the pastor in town. I'm afraid we're not a very religious family. Oh, he'll know my dad. I'm sure of it. I should sit there saying with a beaming smile, as if all the prior hostility had completely evaporated. You probably be on my best behavior when dealing with the pastor's daughter. I'll remember visiting your church someday. You'd be very welcome. Religion is a lot less intimidating when you grow up around it, you know? No, it's equal. Don't... it's equal. You know, my father's status. People have always treated me like some kind of sacralistic being. But to me, the Bible is just a mysterious storybook. A faraway glance appeared in her eyes. I always loved to read about the fantastic creatures, like the behemoth and the leviathan. I ever heard about the leviathan? She began to recite. I have seen a great light in the sea. You may have seen the eyes of Leviathan, for his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. When Leviathan is hungry, he emits a fiery breath from his mouth, and causes the waters of the deep to boil. She let out a dignified squeal of delight. That would give me nightmares. Isn't it exciting? I wonder how the Leviathan feels, submerged all alone in pitch-black darkness. She ran her fingers tenderly along her flaxen hair. And just in the quiet corridor erupted in vitriolic clamor. No loitering during club time. I need you in my office right now. Ina. Oh, I'm so glad to hear you found someone for the school paper. I'm not on the school paper. It's not a school paper. An independent periodical with 2,000 paying subscribers. Come, Abe, follow me. She might ignite an irate fury over my performance during the weekend. I timidly waited for her to begin speaking. Her initial outburst, however, appeared to have been transit in nature. She was just sitting there, paging through a heavy book. After what felt like an eternity, she began to talk. Did you notice the crickets yesterday? I felt no answer was expected. The crickets sing during July and August. It's a sound they make to attract potential mates. I think I heard them chirping last night. This year something isn't right. Their song tapered off a bit in September, but now they're out in full force again. I'm doing research on this phenomenon for an article. It's a chore, so I'm going to ask you to take over some of my other duties. Aw, fuck. Now I'll need you to cover the weekly progress section of this week. The what now? The weekly progress. It's a recurring editorial in which we write something about local event or inhabitant of the town. Sadly, I inherited it from the previous editor-in-chief, the community favorite, so I haven't been able to cut it yet. But never mind. It's only 300 words. You can write about anything or anyone you see around town. Seems perfectly suited for you. I haven't agreed to any of this. If you want to keep your job, you'll have to be a team player. I'm about to quit. I'm about to quit this job. Fuck this job. You suck as a boss. Sip your gamer juice in angst. I'm out of gamer juice. That's how mad I am. Okay, any ideas? Oh. He said, does that mean I'll get paid for this? I was too busy being salty. Okay, any ideas? She returned to her book. If I'm not getting paid for it, why am I doing it? Assuming I was no longer needed, I excused myself. On my way out of the door, she called after me. Hey, that girl you were talking to. Rika, what about her? What did she say to you? I was silent for a second. Nothing much. She approached me in the hallway. Apparently her family is involved with religion. We can see that again. Her father is a powerful figure in town, the leader of the Church of Abbotsford. Whatever that means. Ina stared at me with an intent gaze. I know, because we zoomed in on the plant in the window. I want you to befriend Rika. I want you to stop telling me how to live my life. If you get close to her, we'll be privy to a trove of information on the sordid power structures of the community. We'll have so many exclusives. Wouldn't that be rather underhanded reason to befriend someone? You're a journalist now. You have to play the game in order to get to the bottom of things. So, will you do that for me? Honestly, I wanna be with Rika. Rika is more of my type than you. Even though she is religion. Well. Look how eager you've become now that a pretty girl is involved. I wish you would shut the fuck up, honestly. I ignore her unwarranted outburst. There was something strange Rika said. I believe she called this place the Isle of Abbot. Does that make sense to you? The Isle of Abbot. It's a phrase that old people use. It's an interesting tale. Do we have to hear it? Do you know this town was once surrounded by miles and miles of water? Wow, almost like an isle. This place, you can't be serious. You couldn't be further from the sea down here. She sighed. You may have noticed how the village of Abbotsford lies slightly elevated above the surrounding fields. No, really. Well, let me show you on the map. Fucking, we have maps. She browsed her phone for a while before handing it to me. Look, this is the situation as it is today. You see the town of Abbotsford down there, surrounded by sprawling farmland of the marsh polder. However, it didn't always look like this. The marsh polder is an artificial island, constructed during the first half of the 20th century. It is initially conceptualized as a way to meet the rising demand for housing and farmland. The lake used to be an inland sea, but they built a great dam in the north, severing its connection to the ocean. There were times of unfettered progress. The national government didn't shy away from major development projects. They steamed off large areas of water before proceeding to pump it dry. That's how the stretch of land was formed that would become the marsh boulder. She took back her phone and called up a different map. Oh! That's what it looked like before 1942. As you can see, there's no sign of the marsh boulder yet. The lake is still an inland sea. And Abbott's Ford was an island. It was indeed. A few graybeards around here might still recall that day, when the last of the water was pumped out and their homestead was an island no more. Ina put her phone away and returned to her book, softly muttering to herself. The incessant chirping. I can hear it even here. I wonder if they've encountered a second mating season. Maybe Spengler was right. I left the office quietly. As I walked back home, my mind explored all the different strategies I could deploy to restore my cherished city life. I could stay at my aunt's house until I'd be able to finance a place of my own. That, or I could find a comfortable bridge to sleep under. I was so preoccupied with my thoughts I didn't notice a familiar figure approaching. Hi. Hi there. Come to the stones with me. I looked back when I realized who it was. Sorry, I'm not allowed to talk to you. What, are you joking? Who said that? That Kyopa girl cornered me after class. She thought a childish giggle. Rika? Oh, she's just teasing you. Please, come to the stones with me. Ah! Choices need to be made! But do I want to make them? No. I do not want to be the one to make them. Thank you. Sure, why not? We'll be fine. There's no one around at this time of day. I followed her along a short country trail, which led us to the opening in the trees. At the center stood two massive megaliths, partially buried in the ground. The surroundings seemed well maintained. Pusher. Do you see these giant stones? There are many of them scattered across the island. I like to come here whenever I'm sad. They warm me up inside. She was right. I placed my hand on one of the rocks. I could feel it emanate irradiating heat. I figured it was likely due to their exposure to the midday sun. So, are you feeling sad right now? She blushed. No. To be honest, I come here every night. It's not far from the farm, you know. She gave me a tour of the archaeological site, leading me through the megaliths at least 3 times. These bugs need to stop flying in my feckin' ears. I'm good. After she confirmed that we had studied the stones from every possible angle, wow, she drew my attention to a small placard. She appeared to have difficulty deciphering the writing. She looked up at me. Hey, what does that say? I went over to look at the text, which appeared perfectly legible to me. I began to read. Swifter band culture. I decided to read on, not questioning her curious display of illiteracy. It says here that these stones were erected by an ancient civilization. They used them as grave mounds and as a place to venerate chthonic deities. She was staring at me with a captivated expression in her eyes. Please read more, read more. The Swifter Bend people lived here between 7,500 and 5,500 years ago. During the early Neolithic. They were an early... I know this word. Agrarian society that held livestock, but also resorted to hunting at times. The stones these megaliths were made from aren't native to the region, but were brought here from Scandinavia during the Ice Age. That means they were carried here by large sheets of glacial ice. When the Sol Ice Age ended, about 130,000 years ago, the rocks and debris were caught up in the ice, stayed behind. Maya was staring off in the distance, making me fear for a second that she had reverted to the mysterious episode again, like the night after I first met her. She remained fully aware. She began to speak. Isn't it a beautiful thought? When the Swiffer Band people found these stones, they had been lying here for more than 100,000 years. Centuries since then, they have passed in less than a heartbeat. She erupted in a smile as bright as the setting sun. It makes me so happy to think that these stones will start to be standing here in another 100,000 years. People will move and kingdoms will fall, but these stones will remain. It'll be like nothing has really changed. I couldn't say it was a reassuring thought, though I welcomed it at the time, as it put my own growing problems somewhat into perspective. These stones would remain here long after I had recovered from bankruptcy, long after the burden of my part-time job had herniated my spine, long after I had succumbed to lethargy in this godforsaken backwater town. A couple of oversized rocks were considered, for some reason, a major tourist attraction. I mean, to be fair, our mall was the greatest thing that we had in my hometown. I had a fucking Red Robin, so watch out. When night fell, I brought May back to her parents' farm. As we walked in silence, I clutched my book bag tightly under my arm. My gaze wandered off into the fields. These endless fields of impervious green had tapered off into nothingness. As I thought to myself how strange they were. Endued with the perfect geometric flatness, as though they had been carefully sleekened out by the trowel of an obsessive god. Stuff to be a god. Nice! Nice! Perfect! What the fuck? Part 2 autumn! Oh god! Who the fuck is ding-donging? I woke to a furious ringing at the door, but I'm going to... I hurried downstairs, practically adjusting myself en route. I wondered for a second why my father wasn't home. He was a notoriously light sleeper. Bing bong. Hi! I am right here. I opened the door. I was greeted by a familiar face. Anna appeared far too excited to take her finger from the bell. Please stop pressing that. The article. Have you done it? I want it at the publisher's by tomorrow. My semi-dormant mind was digging fruitlessly. The Weekly Progress article. Did you write it like I told you to? At the early hour, I didn't have the presence of mind to throw up a fight. Tomorrow, I promise, tomorrow. Better not be late. But never mind that, I just received a notice that our cover article was sent to the city council, alright. It turns out that the farm assault wasn't an isolated incident. Mayor Van Linden, had been receiving signals of workers' mistreatment throughout the year leading up to the murder, but he failed to act in a meaningful way. Now, last year the incident occurred. And now the police investigation has come up with nothing Council members are beginning to openly question the mayor's efficacy. That's what happens when you're nice to people. Do you realize our publication could cost him his career? And we're happy about that? The more her words flew straight at me. Most of her words flew straight at me. I remember her eyes burning bright like meteorites on a pale Wednesday morning. We should really begin to school. On the way to school, Ina wouldn't stop lecturing me on the various intricacies of the municipal government. The trip had never felt so long. Voices within the mayor's own party are pushing him to step down. They consider this incident a telltale sign of his continuing incompetence. Members of his own party? Wouldn't that be counterintuitive? Well, it's complicated. Abbott Island Reform, commonly referred to as AIR, is the largest party in the town council. Its electorate consists of farmers and members of the church. But with its size comes inner division. Of the 8 seats in the party currently occupies, 4 were held by members that represent the agricultural sector. They generally come from agrarian families and serve as advocates for the local farms. The 4 seats, however, are held by the Cooper faction, members of the church, mainly descendants of the original inhabitants of the island. The current leader is the Cooper faction is John Cooper, Rika's father. Whatever happened to the separation of church and state? This is not a good time to be saying that, okay. This is not it. Ina pressed on, ignoring my remark. Even though they're in the same party, there's tension between the Cooper faction and the agrarians. The Cooper faction has always tried to implement a strictly isolationist policy of the town, letting in as few outsiders as possible. The agrarians, however, rely on outside labor during harvest season and are generally more welcoming toward newcomers. The current mayor of Abbott's Ford is an agrarian, so the Cooper faction is weaponizing this incident in order to straighten their position within the party. Or strengthen, sorry. AIR has always exerted undisputed influence over the town's administrative affairs. You can tell their power has never been contested by an actual free press. I believe there's much more to be uncovered on this matter. I'd like you to ask Rika out on a date. Suddenly I was wide awake. I'd like you to shut the fuck. I have absolutely no intention of doing that. We'll see. We're out to school early. I'm going to head to the office to change into that terrible uniform. We'll see you in class. Suddenly she dove behind me, as though she were hiding from something. She began to speak in a hushed voice. You see her of all people. There, go talk to her. With these words, she slid into a nearby entranceway. Hi. Hey, what a pleasant surprise. You've been settling in nicely. I see you're part of the Early Bird Club. We practice with the swimming team on Wednesday mornings. There's a big championship coming up. She ran her fingers through her long black hair. I'm so glad you're getting involved with the school paper. Personally, I don't really read it, but my father was absolutely lyrical about the cover piece you ran in the last issue. He can't stop gushing about how much student journalism has improved over the last years. I laughed incredulously. All credit goes to Ina. I just see to a timely delivery. Well, he said your paper's an asset to the town. Come on, there's time left before class starts. Let's take a walk around the school grounds. Ah, my favorite. Back. So, you know this place used to be an island, right? I nodded. I say out loud. In the early 1800s, it was home to a community of about 400 fishing families. Life was tough, but they made an honest living. Periodically, storms would rage through Isle of Abbot. The islanders protected Abbot against the weather by erecting large barriers built out of wooden poles. But during storms, the barriers suffered, and the islander would have to rely on donations from the mainland to restore them. In 1858, a highly turbulent year weather-wise, the Elizabeth flood swept over the Low Countries, leaving a wake of annihilation behind. Part of Abbott's fishing fleet was destroyed. Most of the barrier washed away. Hours later, the government announced a full excavation of the island. Inhabitants were to be rehoused on the mainland. They said it was due to the increasing threat of storms and the infeasible cost of restoring the wooden barrier. However, some suspect that persistent poverty and inbreeding on Abbot played an equally important role in the decision to evacuate. She smiled a mischievous smile. So in the end, the island was left deserted. Not really. A group of 200 islanders stayed behind, all hard-line members of a small Reformity congregation. The Church of Abbot had recently been ejected from the mainstream branch of Low Country Protestantism. Oh my god. Those were troubled times, theologically speaking, and church schisms were a common occurrence. Anyway, the seceded congregation vowed to remain on the island, and the government did nothing to stop them. For close to a century, they lived isolated lives, with very little contact with the outside world, until reclamation of the marsh boulder began. In the 1940s, Abbot suddenly found itself floating on a sea of fertile soil. Farmers from the mainland migrated here to cultivate the fields. But the original inhabitants of Abbotsford, descendants of the islanders who had seceded in 1858, observed the influx of newcomers with sorrow in their eyes. There has always been tension between the two groups. Farmers work hard, but they're blind to our heritage. A grave expression appeared on her face. The islanders are honest people. They'd never cover up a crime. Or so the legend goes. By the time we made up the stairs, classes had already started. Because we're stupid. She turned to me. Do you know what's interesting? The fact that we're late to class? Yeah. Even though we're early. After the Elizabeth flood, Abbot was never struck by a storm again. But the entire evacuation had been for nothing. You could say so. Some of the more self-righteous members of the congregation speculated that the floods were punishment by a higher power. That there were no more need for them, after all the subversive elements had been extracted from the community. The kingdom of heaven is like a net cast into the sea that gathered fish of every kind. When it's full, the fishermen hauled it ashore. Then they sat down and gathered the good fish into vessels, but cast the bad away. Anyway, I have to go to class now. I absolutely love talking to you. Also, I was wondering... She paused for a second, tenderly winding her hair through a finger. Would you mind going out to dinner this Saturday evening? My parents are attending a wedding, and I hate to eat alone. I could detect a hint of anxiety in her voice. Boy, me too. H2, let's go. Glad to if I survive townhouse restaurants. Sure. That's great. I'd love to learn more about you. I mean, considering that this is dialogue options I'm getting, I don't think there's really too much to learn about Abe. I was struck by the candor of her sudden proposal. So struck that I had no choice but to accept, even though I realized I was playing directly into Ina's plans. And it's a date. I'll see you next Saturday. What if Ina is like Monica? Wouldn't that be cool? With a nod of her head, she said goodbye. Ina pulled me aside the moment class ended. She seemed nervous. So? I shook my head in ignorance. Did you manage to get out? What did you manage to get out of Rika? She complimented you on your journalism. Yes, she would, wouldn't she? Just tell me what you guys discussed. I had vivid recollections of Rika's coiling hair. I had to admit the details of our conversation this morning had long since faded in the back of my mind. We talked about the town for a bit, and I thought for a second. She said the Isle of Abbot was evacuated in the 19th century due to inbreeding. Does that make sense to you? Sure, they arrived by storms at the time. Only a small community remained, including the Cooper family. Well then, I don't think she told me anything of interest. I should be the judge of that. An awkward silence lingered. The newsroom was a mess. Every inch of floor space was full with boxes, newspaper clippings, scattered clothing. So I was wondering, what? Will you introduce me to the other editors and the staff? She flinched. It's not a school paper. I never said it was. We have got other editors, but they mostly work from home. It's not like I write everything myself. I pressed a hidden nerve and I began to regret my line of questioning. No, this is good. Make her pissed. Fuck her. Not the fun way. I dug through my memory for something that would cheer her up. You know what? There was something strange Rika told me this morning. What? Something about the church schism. Just before the island was evacuated. She was a little vague on the matter. As expected, Ina appeared unnaturally interested. Schism, you say? In the Church of Abbot? Rika said it was the reason that some of the islanders stayed behind. Ina had begun browsing her phone, while a soft murmur trickled from her lips. Church schism. Seems highly unlikely, if only. There, I found something. It's called Theological Inquiries into the Congregation of the Church of Abbot. It's relevant. Some more typing. I'm not sure, it could be. Inquiries are a big deal in the reformation of church at the time. They could point toward corruption or severe theological divergencies. The thing is, the Church of Abbot and the Cooper family have always held a pivotal position of power in this town. Her eyes were glowing. Any dirt on them, old or new, surely cause a stir, much more than any aberrant migration pattern of insects ever will. She turned her attention back to her phone. There it is. They have a copy of the Municipal Archive of Bremersburg. It's less than 20 minutes away by train. Go there on Friday. On Friday? Don't we have school on Friday? Well, this is much more important than school. And besides, we get a lot of time off from mandatory club activities. As we headed downstairs, I noticed she was trembling with excitement. Let's head over to my house for now. I want to run some ideas by you. I was in the mood to protest. Her house is well kept, almost sterile appearance to it. As she led me to the living room, I noticed a hint of sadness in her eyes. After prying, she told me that her mother was touring in the moment. She was a famous conductor, Mina Mengelberg, currently serving as the musical director in the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. I mentioned I had seen her name on a playbill once, when I still lived in the city. So this is my room. Why couldn't we just be in the living room? I hate it though. Empty houses give me the creeps. That's why I'm usually at the office. She produced a large book from her bag, the same one I had seen her reading at school. I'm reading Oswald Spengler at the moment. I can't read that. I haven't made it past the second chapter. She folded open to the page she had marked with the paper. A boundless mass of human being, flowing into a stream without banks. Upstream, a dark past where within our time sense loses all powers of definition and restlessness, or uneasy fancy conjures up geological periods to hide away an eternally unsolvable riddle. Downstream, a future even so dark and timeless, such is the groundwork of the Faustine picture of human history. She closed the book and handed it to me. Modern man's yearning of infinite progress is Faustine in nature. Spurred by his endless aspirations, humanity involuntarily seals its own fate. History repeats itself. We have left the natural state far behind. We couldn't return even if we wanted to. Being has been altered irredeemably. And with that lovely sentiment, I'm going to end this episode here. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you later.